I want to bring in Peter Stefanovic now and James Morrow. James, first of all, good to see you.
Great to be here.
This is a massive day in US history when it comes to politics and law, but I know you want to get to the politics of it, given that, we've talked about, this being a bit of a witch hunt, but still, it is not a good look for President Trump.
It's not a good look for Trump, but it's also really not a good look for the system, and this is the real problem here. This is the first time a president, assuming he is actually arrested on this will be the first time a U.S. president has been arrested since 1872, when Ulysses S. Grant was charged with speeding on his horse in Washington, D.C.
So it has been done before.
So it has been done before, and I got to say, the Grant charges might have actually been more serious, because in that one, somebody could have gotten hurt by his carriage. But this is just a ridiculous...
Let's say modern era.
Well, this is a ridiculous political stunt by Alvin Bragg. Now, in America, district attorneys, crown prosecutors, if you like, are elected, they're not selected. And he went to the people, the polls, on a platform of, I am going to get Trump. He also went to the polls on a platform of, I'm going to go soft on criminals. So what that says about my fellow New Yorkers and what their priorities are, I don't know. But that's another story. This is a highly political story. People are coming out all over the place, including some Democrats, to say, this is just too much. This idea that he misaccounted something that would be in most cases a misdemeanor, and then they're trying to suggest that this ties to federal campaign funds is ridiculous.
Because if this wasn't Trump, if this was Joe Blow, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, Joe Biden, for that matter.
And Pete, you make a great point, because, Laura, you were just saying, and Annalise was just saying, there's the case about the documents. Well, they're making a much bigger deal about his classified documents than Joe Biden's classified documents. This plays directly into the Trump hands. But, it's really bad, because I just worry, frankly, that this makes America a much more divided camp. It's going to radicalize people, I think, on the right, because it's going to prove everything Donald Trump says. They're not coming after him for the Georgia thing, which I agree is much more serious. That's what he should be worried about legally. They're coming after this, which just seems to most people, I think, like private life messiness.
Yeah, it makes a mockery of the legal system and the political dynamics at the moment. I agree. Pete, we've been talking about this for quite some time. I was in the US in the midterms with James, and it's still incredible, the magnetism that Donald Trump has.
Yeah.
And, not to downplay it here today, but James, it is true to say when you are in the United States, when you talk to people about Donald Trump, and, it's not just in those really red Trump areas. It's kind of across the board. Wherever you go, you can find someone that supports Trump, no matter what. I mean, it's not,
and when they do,
they in New York City, but when you talk to them, they talk to you like Trump is, this kind of figure that is above politics, above criticism.
Draining the swamp.
He's draining the swamp.
Yeah.
Whatever he does, he's there to do it for the greater good, not so much himself. Now, it's a bit mythical when it comes to Donald Trump. So not to downplay this today, but this is really going to help him, I reckon.
Yeah, no. And, I said earlier with Joe Siracusa, we laughed about it 2 weeks ago when we thought, well, he's just going to run his campaign from a jail cell, and he's probably just as effective.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing. This really does feel like we're moving into that sort of developing world territory where politicians of the opposite side are indicted by the people in power on nonsense charges.
That's right.
It feels like, what Beria said, Stalin's henchman, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Because the laws are such in the United States. Everybody's guilty of something.
Yeah.
You just have to be decided to go after.
Just a couple of statements that have just come through. I've just been writing down. So Stormy Daniels has already responded. Stormy Daniels, that's what all of this is about. Not so much her, but where the money's come from, right? So she said she's ready to testify. This was apparently in a Q&A with her fans on OnlyFans. And Michael Cohen, we heard from a short time ago, he says, I do take solace in validating the adage that no one is above the law, not even a former president.
Yeah.
Accountability matters, and I stand by my testimony. There's murky water there when it comes to Michael Cohen.
There's a lot of murky water about Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, and the defamation case that went against her. So, whether or not she's a reliable witness, either of these two characters are reliable witnesses, is another issue. But then there's also the great issue of prosecutorial discretion. And prosecutors, have a wide latitude to say, I'm going to prosecute this or I'm not going to prosecute that because it just makes sense or it doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense.